Hello, and welcome to the Cook County Bar Association on CAN TV. I'm Gerard Williams, and I'll be your host. Every week here on CAN TV, the Cook County Bar Association presents this informational broadcast to bring legal information to the community and to inform you about programs and events sponsored by the Cook County Bar Association. Today, we'll be talking about two committees of the Cook County Bar Association, the Legislative Committee and the Rapid Response Committee. Committees are how the Cook County Bar Association fulfills its mission to its members and to the public. They are where our members come together to do the work of the bar. And these are two very important committees, and I believe they really complement each other. Our guest this evening is Attorney Jeanette Samuels. Jeanette is the chairperson of the Civil Rights Committee, and she is the incoming treasurer of the Cook County Bar Association. She's also very active in both the Legislative Committee and the Rapid Response Committee. The Civil Rights Committee is also heavily involved in legislative matters. And coincidentally, I am the chairperson of the Rapid Response Committee. So I'm very glad that we can be here together. Jeanette, welcome and thank you.
Thank you for having me, Gerard.
Thank you. Now, this is a live call-in show, so please call us with your questions about the work of the CCBA in these areas. Today, our show will be limited to talking about the work of these two committees, so we will not be answering your specific legal questions tonight. If you need legal assistance, we invite you to visit the website of the Cook County Bar Association or contact us at our lawyer referral line at 312-630-1157. Again, if you need a lawyer, you can visit our website or contact the Cook County Bar at the number that's currently on your screen. So, Jeanette, I'm very glad because I do think that the Rapid Response Committee is a complement to the work of the Legislative Committee and the Civil Rights Committee. The goal of the Rapid Response Committee is to prepare statements on behalf of the bar, and as you know, those statements must reflect the legislative agenda and goals of the Cook County Bar Association. How do you feel about the work of these two committees working together?
Oh, I absolutely agree. It's essential. I mean, we're only as powerful as our voice, and so even if we have attorneys who are out there and they know what's going on, if we're not getting that word out to the general public or to the legislators to make sure that they know what our opinions is on these topics, then it's almost pointless.
I completely agree. In my role as chairperson of this committee, I feel that it is our role to be that voice for the Cook County Bar Association. So it's very important for us to make sure that we understand the goals that committees like yours are working on.
So Gerard, how does your committee decide when to issue a statement?
Well, as I said, we do try to keep a very close view of the goals that committees like yours, the Legislative Committee and the Civil Rights Committee, are working on. With knowledge of those goals and the agenda of the Bar Association, we monitor for any statements that are contrary to those goals and that we feel that may have a negative impact on achieving them. Then we draft a statement that is issued at the discretion of our president or our board of directors. But we can't do our work without your work. The Legislative Committee, with the advice and at the guidance of the president and of our board of directors, sets that agenda. So what are some of the legislative goals that the Cook County Bar Association is focusing on at this time?
Well, first we have to break it down sort of by level. And so we have the state government, we have county government, city government, and then we also have federal legislation that we sometimes look at. And if that issue affects African American attorneys, if it affects the African American community directly or indirectly, then we try to make sure that we have at least some sort of legal analysis going on. If it's important that we take an advocacy position on it, then we may take that extra step and go beyond just saying our opinion, but also trying to push and persuade in that manner.
That's very interesting. Is there a different process for addressing legislative issues at the state and at the local level?
I think there is, just because a number of our member attorneys may have connections at the state and the local level, and so sometimes we get to rely on them and their expertise, or we may have a heads up of things that are coming down the legislative pipeline. And so that may affect how we respond to something as opposed to something that's farther removed from us and then we're hearing about it and responding. And so we both respond and we also project in that way.
So what is there a particular area that you can share with the audience that we are working on at this time?
Sure. So I guess one of the perennial issues that our members deal with is bills that have come up in the state legislature to change the way that judges are elected, or actually to remove judicial election in exchange for the merit selection process, which is something that the Rapid Response Committee has addressed on numerous occasions as well.
You're absolutely right, Jeanette. This is an issue that does not seem to go away in Illinois. Currently, the public has the right to select who will be the members of the judiciary. And there have been numerous attempts over the years to attempt to take that right away from the people and move to a system whereby a panel or a commission would select members of the judiciary or decide who remains a judge after their initial election. And just to explain a little bit to our viewers, judges are initially elected by popular election, then they must undergo what is called a retention election, where the voters get to decide whether this person who was once elected a judge will remain a judge. And there, as you indicated, Jeanette, there are currently bills pending in the legislature to change that, and that is something that the Cook County Bar Association opposes.
And one of the reasons, if I understand correctly, that Cook County Bar Association is so passionate about this issue is not just because of the way that it affects attorneys, but also because of the way that it affects the African American community at large. It's very difficult to get representation in the judiciary of underrepresented groups when you would take away the election process, and using the sub-circuit process in particular, where you're having judges that are elected from certain neighborhoods, then that ensures a greater amount of racial diversity and ethnic diversity on the bench. And so when we see effects or attempts to try to take that away, it's sort of a red flag, not just because you're divesting people of their right to vote, which in a democracy seems antithetical, but also because we know and we understand that this system was set up purposely to make sure that we have more racial diversity on the bench, to make sure we have more ethnic diversity on the bench, to make sure that the people who are making the decisions that affect your life every day look like the people on the other side. And so I think that's important, and I'm glad that the CCBA has continued to look at this issue and hasn't let the ball drop.
You're absolutely right, Jeanette. And just to give our viewers a little more background on this issue, judges in Cook County, there are two systems of election. There are a certain number of judges that are elected what we refer to as county-wide. That means that those candidates must receive a majority of the votes from all of the voters in Cook County. And to address the issue that you brought up of a lack of diversity on the bench, there was an effort in Congress, and in the General Assembly, excuse me, and it was a bipartisan effort between Republicans and Democrats to create a system that would address what was then known to be a lack of diversity on the bench in Cook County. And it was hard-fought legislation, but through that process, the sub-circuits were developed, and the sub-circuits were a further breaking down of Cook County, where you had a smaller number of electors who could choose judges, ideally from their own communities. And when the people select judges from their own communities, those judges reflect the members of that community. And we're happy, and that legislation worked. Cook County now has a more diverse bench because of the sub-circuit system. And as you said, that system is under attack, and I can say that that is something that, as the Rapid Response Committee, we have addressed several times. We have written to the General Assembly. We have written letters to the editors of newspapers who advocate for these changes that we oppose, and we spell out many of the points that you just stated for our viewers, that a diverse bench is an important goal, because judges have such an influence on the everyday lives of the people that they touch. They actually wield quite a bit of power.
And the judicial system is already so opaque, where most members of the general public sort of feel removed from it, so that if you take away the right to vote on these judges, and that's just adding another layer between you and the law, and between everyday citizens and the law, and I just can't believe that that'd be in the best interest of citizens.
Are you aware of what it would take to stop these changes from being made? What can be done and what is being done to stop these changes?
Well, I know that every time it's come up, a number of different advocacy groups who regularly follow this issue, both bar associations and other community organizations, they file what is called witness slips, where you get to make an official statement on the record to let legislators know what your opinion is on this issue. Last time it came up, which was just this past session in the General Assembly, there were over 50 witness slips, I believe, to address this, most of them negative and contrary to the notion that judges should get their position based upon a merit selection, so-called merit selection, as opposed to being elected by the people who they are eventually going to be judging.
Well, it's certainly, I know it to be certainly to be an important issue through the work of both of our committees, and we hope that our viewers understand the importance of watching these efforts in their General Assembly and who is supporting them, to really understand what the issue is and to become active in addressing these issues in the General Assembly. I just want to remind our viewers that we are discussing the legislative goals and agenda of the Cook County Bar Association. You may call us at the number that appears at the bottom of your screen if you would like to ask any questions about any of the topics that we are discussing here today. This is a weekly program of the Cook County Bar Association. Tonight we are not taking questions on legal issues, but I'll remind the audience that if you do have a legal question or need a lawyer, you can visit the website of the Cook County Bar Association or contact us. Our number is 312-630-1157. And for our lawyer referral service, you want extension 23. So Jeanette, certainly the method of selecting judges is a very important issue, and I know from personal experience that it's one that the Cook County Bar Association has worked on very hard and is very dedicated to. What are some of the other issues that we're addressing right now?
Well, I think one of the hot button issues right now is looking at the retention of police misconduct records. I think ever since November and the release of the Laquan McDonald video, citizens have had a greater appreciation for sort of the system overhaul that's been needed in order to affect criminal justice reform. One of those issues is the release of police misconduct records. And just to give you a short background, so anytime somebody makes a complaint against a police officer, anytime there's a lawsuit filed against a police officer, then an internal investigation is supposed to occur into whether or not that officer engaged in any misconduct or violated any department general orders or rules, anything like that. And so this has been going on within the Chicago Police Department since the 1950s, 1960s. Just recently, within the last few years, there was a court case, Calvin versus City of Chicago, that ruled that essentially police misconduct records are public records. They belong to the public. And so all these records you had a right to access. Anybody could issue a FOIA request and say, I want to know any misconduct records for Officer X. After that order was issued by the court, the attorneys went back and they requested all these misconduct records that were in the possession of the Chicago Police Department. When that occurred, then the Chicago Police Department's union, the Fraternal Order of Police, attempted to enforce a provision that they'd never enforced in their contract before. And that provision said that police misconduct records had to be destroyed essentially after 5 years. And so despite having 50, 60 years worth of records in their possession, they're trying to get that all destroyed now. When that became an issue, especially in light of everything that's going on with the Department of Justice investigation, things of that nature, a number of state senators took the heat from the call of the people, and they had bills. They introduced bills into the General Assembly to address this. One of the bills was issued by State Senator Van Pelt. Another bill was introduced by State Representative LaShawn Ford. It's HB 6266. And of all the bills that were introduced on this issue, many believe that this is the bill that has the greatest likelihood of passing. Now, even though we're in June and the session has technically ended, we're not going to let this issue end because it's important that these records be maintained. And so that's one of the issues that the Cook County Bar Association has been looking at, along with a number of other organizations, including the Better Government Association. You name it, if they're involved with the City of Chicago and civil rights, most people have been looking at it.
Well, that's fascinating information, Jeanette. Thank you. I want to follow up on a few things for the benefit of our audience. You said that these documents are public records, and the public had a right to access them. You said that the public can make what you called a FOIA request. Could you explain for the benefit of our audience what FOIA is?
Oh, of course. So Illinois has a statute. It's the Illinois Freedom of Information Act request. And essentially it defines what a public record is. And so anytime a public agency engages in a certain type of business or conduct, it's a public record. And so you as a citizen have a right to receive those records except for a few limited circumstances. And so any individual can write any public agency, with the exception of the judiciary, so the executive branch and the legislative branch, and you can say, I want all your records related to X. And they have 5 days to respond to you. Or they either say, no, you can't get it because it meets one of these few very limited exceptions, or most likely because it's a very broad act and the act was meant to be broadly construed, they'll say, here are your records. And so any citizen, anytime, any executive or legislative department can ask for records, and it's a good process for oversight and making sure that the people know what's going on in government.
Now, in your experience, are government agencies usually responsive to these requests?
Oh, yeah. Government agencies are usually responsive to this request. Most departments will have actually officers where that's all that they do. So at the Independent Police Review Authority, at the time when I was interning there, they had 2 attorneys there, and that's basically what they did. They just responded to FOIA requests. Yes, this is granted. No, this isn't granted, or it's granted with an exception, and we have to go through and black out people's names. And so most agencies, they'll have an officer, that's all they do, that's what they specialize in. And so you'll get your response within 5 days. And one of the reasons why they are so prompt to respond is because there's a private cause of action where you can bring, where if they don't respond to you within a certain time period, then you can actually sue the state in order to get these records.
Now, suing a government agency for a lot of our citizens can be cost prohibitive. Are there any provisions in the statute that addresses that concern?
Oh, of course. There's an attorney's fee provision which will entice other attorneys to take your case for you, or even yourself if you're going to litigate it, where if you can prove that the withholding of the documents was willful and wanton, then you get paid for the price that it took for you to enforce this. Because like we said, these are public records, they belong to you, and so any violation of this is looked down upon by the courts.
Well, it sounds as if this legislation really encourages people to monitor what their government is doing on their behalf.
Of course, democracy is only as strong as the people who are involved in it. And so it's your right to get these records, to look at it, to know what's going on in your community, in your government, with your legislators. And so we want to encourage people to be active and to maintain the information that they need in order to do their roles correctly.
All right. This is the Cook County Bar Association on CAN TV. Our guest is Attorney Jeanette Samuels, an officer in the Cook County Bar Association, chairperson of its Civil Rights Committee, and an active member of both its legislative and rapid response committees. If you have questions about the topics we're discussing, please call us at the number at the bottom of your screen. Now, Jeanette, you were talking about the police records and the effort to allow those records to be destroyed. What impact would that have on citizens if, in fact, these records are permitted to be destroyed after a relatively short period of time?
Well, you have to understand that that's huge. It's a huge amount of information, especially when we're talking about the history and the legacy of the Chicago Police Department as it relates to civil rights violations. And so Cook County is known as the false confession capital of America. And there's a number of people, undoubtedly, who are sitting in jail or behind bars who are there falsely, usually because of some sort of police misconduct. And so if they have access to these records, if they can look at this officer and they say, I have 6 people who complain of the same type of thing that I'm complaining about, either a coerced confession or evidence that he or she may say didn't belong to them but was planted at a scene. If you can look at an officer's record, look at the totality of their career and see that other people are making the same complaints, then when you come before a judge and you're saying, look, judge, I know I was found guilty, but look, this is what I've been saying. Other people have said the same thing. Take another look at this. If it's between you and the judge, if you're looking for an attorney to try to help you, these are the things, these are the bits of information that you need to help build that case. And one of the things that we've spoken about, and that just boggles the mind, is that everybody knows about the Laquan McDonald case right now. right? Everybody knows the huge amount of publicity that it's gained and this garnered. And can you imagine that 7 years from now, 10 years from now, there won't be a record of that? Nobody will be able to look back at the IPRA file and say, what went wrong? This huge case of public debate and public concern that just doesn't seem right.
Well, for purposes of people who are affected directly by these issues, and as well as knowing the history of some of the things that are happening so that we don't repeat those things, it does sound as if retaining those records is a very important issue. How can the people get involved to help push these legislators to pass the bill that you mentioned earlier that would help protect these bills? And if you could remind our audience what that bill was and how they can get involved to help it become passed.
Oh, absolutely. So the bill is HB 6266. You can look it up right now, Google it. It was introduced by Representative LaShawn Ford. So there's two main ways you can help. You can help directly. Look up your local representative in this House or in the state Senate and just call them, email them. Go to their field office and let them know this is an issue that you care about, an issue that they should care about, and that they need to vote in favor of this bill. The other thing that you can do is the Better Government Association has been working tirelessly to see this bill passed throughout the General Assembly. And so if you're part of a community organization, they're looking to compile a list of names of different community organizations that support this so that they can drop a thick fat file at the General Assembly and say the community cares about this. So get in contact with the Better Government Association, say I'm with this organization and we want to be added to that list.
And the Cook County Bar Association is also working towards passage of these bills in its own way. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Again, this is the Cook County Bar Association on CAN TV. If you have questions about any of these issues, the agenda that the Cook County Bar Association is working on, you can call the number on your screen. Our guest, again, is Jeanette Samuels, an officer in the Cook County Bar Association and chairperson of our Civil Rights Committee. And these issues, who judges the people, access to records that are their own records, these are civil rights issues. These are rights that people have. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we've already discussed two very lofty legislative goals that the Cook County Bar Association is working on. Very important things. Are there any others?
Well, I know one issue that we'll be keeping our eye out on for the future is proposed legislation. We've heard talk about it for a special prosecutor bill. We think in light of everything that's happened in our city, that's going on throughout the country, as people are talking about the role of criminal justice reform, we want to be on the right side of history on this issue. And so we're keeping our ear to the ground. And as attorneys and as representatives of our community, it's only right that we take a stance on this issue.
Now, we're talking about prosecutors like our state's attorney that we have here in Cook County. That's a county level office, is that right?
That's correct. So it's technically the Cook County State's Attorney, but it's a constitutional office. And so in order to get a special prosecutor, in order to get a special prosecutor, it requires state legislation because it's a constitutional office. And so that's something that we'll be looking at. I know it's an issue that's everybody's been speaking of, from Ferguson to what happened in Staten Island to our very own 400 days. It's definitely an issue that affects everyone, and so it's on the radar. In what instances would a special prosecutor be needed? Well, and that may be a topic that we need to discuss at another time, because I see that we are out of time. I would like to thank our guest, Jeanette Samuels, officer of the Cook County Bar Association, incoming treasurer, chairperson of the Civil Rights Committee, clearly very hard worker. Thank you very much for being here, Jeanette. I do what I can. Thank you for having me, sir.
It's a pleasure. Again, my name is Gerard Williams. I've been your host for Cook County Bar Association on CAN TV. If you have any information you want to share with us or need a lawyer, visit our website or contact our lawyer referral line. And thank you for watching.
Have a good evening, everyone.